Hello and welcome to another dedicated improvement and reflection time session. Today we'll be thinking about how I can develop my conclusion so that it's more persuasive. There are 3 quick steps to doing this. Number 1, make sure you've made a clear judgment in your conclusion. Number 2, acknowledge the role of other factors. And number 3, explain why your factor is more important than these other factors. So let's take a look at these 2 paragraphs and decide how persuasive their conclusions are. Okay, so first of all, let's have a look at this conclusion. So this student says, the most important factor which caused the 1905 revolution was Bloody Sunday. This was more important than other factors like the Russo-Japanese War and social and economic conditions of the peasants. So let's see which of these things they've managed to fulfil. Well, first of all, they've said that the most important factor which caused the 1905 revolution was Bloody Sunday. So they do have a clear judgment in their paragraph. Next, let's have a look to see if they acknowledge the role of other factors. This was more important than other factors like the Russo-Japanese War and social and economic conditions of the peasants. So they've mentioned other factors, but they haven't really acknowledged the role that these other factors had. They haven't said how these things helped to cause revolution. And finally, let's have a look. Have they explained why their chosen most important factor, was more important? Well, no, they haven't really. They've just said that it was more important. So some good things in this paragraph. They have mentioned a clear judgment that they have, and they've mentioned other factors that they think are less important. But what they need to do to develop this paragraph is acknowledge the role these other factors had. In what way did these other factors they've mentioned also cause revolution, and why was their factor more important? Now let's take a look at the second conclusion. So it says, in conclusion, the most important factor which caused the 1905 revolution was not the Russo-Japanese War, but Bloody Sunday. Although the Russo-Japanese War caused mutiny due to Russia's humiliating defeat, this only occurred on one battleship and occurred a long way away from Russia. Whereas Bloody Sunday led to widespread striking of around 500,000 people within a month of the event, showing it was more significant in undermining the people's beliefs in the Tsar's ability to rule with the people's best interests at heart. Furthermore, although the social and economic condition of the peasants was an underlying cause of the protests of the 1905 revolution, protests had been occurring throughout the 19th and early 20th century without the Tsar being in the serious position he was in 1905. It was Bloody Sunday that was a more important cause, as it directly illustrated to the peasants and other people in Russia that the Tsar was not willing to help them overcome these economic and social difficulties and had no sympathy for them. This event led to the Tsar losing his image as the Father Tsar, and therefore made wide-scale rebellion a very real possibility. So let's consider whether they've met our criteria for being a persuasive conclusion. So first of all, they need to have made a clear judgment. Let's have a look. Have they made a clear judgment? In conclusion, the most important factor which caused the 1905 revolution was Bloody Sunday. Yes, they've definitely made a clear judgment in their conclusion. Have they acknowledged the role of other factors in also causing the revolution? Let's have a look. Although the Russo-Japanese War caused mutiny due to Russia's humiliating defeat, yes, they've definitely mentioned the Russo-Japanese War caused mutiny and humiliation, so that's a role causing the 1905 revolution. Let's see where else we've got things written down. So we've Bloody Sunday, we've obviously mentioned as well. Bloody Sunday led to widespread striking of around 500,000 people. And we've also got social and economic condition of the peasants was an underlying cause of protests occurring throughout the 19th and 20th centuries. So yes, they've definitely acknowledged the role of other factors. They've mentioned what things were causing the Tsar to be undermined by 1905. And finally, have they explained why their decision on what the main factor was causing the 1905 revolution was more important than these other factors? Well, yes, they have. So they've said, although the Russo-Japanese War caused mutiny due to Russia's humiliating defeat. This only occurred on one battleship and a long way away from Russia. So they've said that this isn't a particularly important event, whereas Bloody Sunday caused the striking of around 500,000 people within a month of the event. So they've directly compared these two events and said why Bloody Sunday was more significant as a cause of the revolution. And if we go further down, where they're talking about the other factor, social and economic condition of the peasants being an underlying cause of protests, they've also explained why Bloody Sunday was more important. So it says it was Bloody Sunday that was more important as a cause because it directly illustrated that the Tsar was not willing to help them overcome these difficulties. So it made the Tsar lose his image as a father Tsar. So again, they've compared these two events and they've explained why Bloody Sunday was more significant. So yes, they've definitely explained why their factor that they've chosen as the most significant factor was more important than the other factors. Overall, if you consider these two paragraphs, if you were the examiner, which of them would you find more persuasive? Have a go at checking your own paragraph meets all of these criteria. If it's missing one of these criteria, develop your paragraph by adding these things in. Good luck with your revision.